Alright guys, what are the best lifting shoes? What are the best shoes to work out in? I'm going to give you my opinion. I'm going to give you my opinion on what works best for me, for my clients, what's going to work best for you, and from a scientific perspective, from a functional anatomy perspective, from a biomechanical perspective, so the way that your body moves. So I'm not just making these things up. I'm not just giving you opinion based on, what advertisements say. I'm telling you based on the way your body is supposed to move. So when we're talking about compound lifts, your squats, even your deadlifts, your Olympic lifts, your clean and jerk, your snatches, things that you're lifting heavy load with, I like using lifting shoes. So these are Nike lifting shoes. You can get any brand. I don't support any brand in particular. There's Adidas ones that are great. These are Nike. But lifting shoes, Olympic lifting shoes, are great for a number of reasons. The first reason is that they have a hard sole, so you can't compress the sole no matter how hard you push. Now when you're wearing typical Nike shoes, running shoes, Nike Shocks, Converse shoes, a lot of different types of shoes. Mind you, Converse are a bit better than most shoes, but most shoes in general have compressive soles. So what happens when you're doing a squat? What happens when you're doing a deadlift? What happens when you're doing your power lifts that require you to stomp the floor with your heel is that the sole of the shoe gets compressed. When it becomes compressed, load of your body and the weight in your hand becomes distributed unevenly throughout the ground. So you're going to be pressing down, when you're doing a squat, and what's going to happen are your feet are going to shift from side to side. This is going to happen if the load compresses or if the sole compresses. We don't want that. We want to squat on a very hard surface. You want the ground to be hard. You also want your shoes to be hard. So if you're not going to wear something like this, I'd recommend that you go barefoot because there's nothing in between you and the ground. You want to be as close to the ground as possible as far as having the most amount of traction, the most amount of grip. So if you're not wearing these, go barefoot. Also, I like these for another reason, is that the heel's elevated. And as we know, when we elevate the heel, we get more range of motion. So most people, I use this as an assessment tool. I elevate the heel with a plate when people are doing a squat. So if someone can't properly come down and do a squat, I elevate the heel and I see if they can get further. Chances are if they can get further when we elevate the heel, the ankles are tight, so the ankles need to be more mobile. So this already has that feature built in where the heel is elevated. When the heel's elevated, we're going to get more range of motion, we're going to get more glute activation, we're going to get more leg activation throughout the lift. That's another great benefit of lifting shoes. Another thing I like about it are the straps on the shoes. Most Olympic lifting shoes that I've seen ever have straps on the shoe. So when they have these straps, you can fasten them really tight, and then you get the shoe to compress against the top of your foot, and you don't get any lateral shifting. You get a lot more torque, you have a lot more strength, you don't have any strength bleeding out of your feet when you're doing the lift. So there's multiple benefits to using these shoes over typical running shoes. You get sold on these advertisements that say these are the best shoes to lift in, those are the best shoes. I love these shoes. This is my second pair. I recommend either these or I recommend going barefoot or the Vibram 5-finger shoes. Like I said, everything starts from the ground up. Just like a house, everything starts from the foundation up. You can't just build a house with no foundation. So if you have a poor foundation when you're doing your lifts, when you're doing your compound lifts, you're gonna have improper movement patterns, you're going to have weaknesses and deficiencies in your kinetic chain. So if something's wrong at the ankle, it's going to affect your knee, it's going to affect your hip, it's going to affect your shoulder. We want to make sure everything is sound, everything's structurally efficient from the ankle. That way everything transitions all the way up the kinetic chain and we have proper movement patterns. We possess optimal movement patterns. We get stronger by doing that. We generate more force, more power by doing that. Alright guys, so post your questions below, make sure to subscribe, like the video, share it with your buddies to support us.